3 days to the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections in Ghana. Hello and welcome to Election Brief. I'm Marba Kumson. Coming up, President Akufo-Addo and NDC leader John Mahama commit to peaceful elections as the two leaders signed a peace pact this afternoon.
I pledge to ensure peace and preserve the stability of our dear nation, Ghana. Elections are about counting heads and not cutting heads.
I've said that we believe in elections. And I'm happy to give my word that we shall accept the verdict of the people of Ghana. Above all,
we'll bring you details as they both bring up the issue of Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence and also speak to a security expert to assess whether the move will help quell any form of violence on election day. Also, Inspector General of Police James Opombuenu charges security personnel to exhibit professionalism as he deployed thousands of officers to the 16 regions ahead of Monday's elections.
I urge all of you to put in your best. I'm told that the provisions of the aid memoir have already been read to you, and we are all going to be giving copies each. And you are supposed to.
And the battle for the Central and Greater Accra regions rages on, with who gets to win these two regions that have 5 million votes. A researcher thinks it tilts towards the NPP.
Greater Accra, based on the historical data, is really tight. I mean, it's almost split, right? That if we combine the safe, likely, and lean for each of the two parties, it's 12-12, with about.
We have all these stories and more in the next 55 minutes. Election Brief is brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity, Pad Eva, furniture for a modern office, and Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Stay tuned in. Thanks for staying with us. We start off with an issue that is very crucial in these upcoming polls, and I'm talking about ensuring safe and peaceful polls. And earlier today, President Akufo-Addo and the NDC leader John Dramani Mahama committed to peaceful election on Monday. The two leaders made the pledge at a conference called by the Peace Council, the Chief Imam, and the Christian Council in Accra. Watch.
To ensure peace and preserve the stability of our dear nation, Ghana. Elections are about counting heads and not cutting heads. And so we'll work together towards peaceful elections. I urge the security agencies, voters, and all stakeholders to ensure law and order. We expect to see all security personnel behave professionally, all those deployed for elections to be in uniform with visible name tags and service numbers. Let us strive to prevent the violence of the past, particularly as witnessed in early 2019 during the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-elections, which till date has gone unsanctioned. Ladies and gentlemen, our country stands at a critical juncture of its history. Never have the lives of so many depended on the power of a thumb. Now more than ever, we need the institutions of our democracy to work impartially to deliver an outcome that is fair, transparent, and in the national interest.
I'm pleased to be part of this event that seeks to highlight the importance of peace in our country as we go to the polls on 7th December on Monday. And I thank the conveners for the invitation to be here and say a few words this morning. This is the third time I've participated in this ceremony. The first two as leader of the opposition, and the third as President of the Republic. On both previous occasions, I've held to my part of the Peace Pact, and on this third occasion, as President of the Republic, I will do the same. I've said that we believe in elections, and I'm happy to give my word that we shall accept the verdict of the people of Ghana. Above all, I pledge that the peace, unity, and safety of Ghana will be our primary consideration. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong.
Our presidential correspondent, Elton Broby, was at that conference, and he joins us via Zoom. Elton, we heard both leaders of the NPP and NDC referring to the Ayawaso issue. What other issues came up when they made the pledge and committed to peace?
Right, so let's start from former President John Mahama, who is contesting on the ticket of the NPP. After committing himself to the peace pact, he had some reservations and how to deal with what he described as government fault dragging in the implementation of the recommendations contained in the Commission's report on the Ayawaso West Ogun parliamentary by-elections. His government has yet to implement some of the recommendations. That gives him cause for worry, and that actually makes him doubt government's commitment to the peace pact that President Akufo-Addo signed on behalf of the government going into the December 17th. Nevertheless, he says that on his part as leader of the opposition party, who will work to ensure that there's peace before, during, and after the elections, and that the security agencies must all conduct themselves in an atmosphere of peace, professional and matters, so that they can be easily identified on election day. President Akufo-Addo, in his response, said he was not there to lament, but rather to assure the nation of his government's commitment to ensure there is peace. The security agencies are provided with all that is required of them to conduct themselves in an atmosphere that will be acceptable by all. Secondly, he says that as far as the NPP is concerned, they've been at the forefront of electoral reform since 1992. And if the party has all the policies, all the men to implement them, and there's no peace, it will amount to nothing. For that reason, the NPP, as a party and as a government which it is, they will work to ensure that the peace pact, which permits all of them to ensure that they rope in their members, and if there is any grounds for any disagreement, they will resort to the laws rather than going on the streets. They will respect that and ensure that the outcome will be respected as well. As far as it's concerned, the will of the people will be respected in the upcoming elections on Monday, Araba.
All right, many thanks. Elton Broby is our man embedded with President Akufo-Addo's team. Later on, we'll be getting an update on former President Mahama's team. But Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, who was also at that ceremony, vowed the Commission will ensure a free, fair, credible and transparent election on Monday.
As part of our efforts to strengthen the credibility and integrity of our processes, we have provided training and accreditation to some 25 international and local observer groups. We are confident that the independent assessments, will go a long way to ensure the credibility and integrity of our processes and the election as a whole. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to note that the level of transparency and openness of the Commission, as well as its responsiveness to the citizenry, has helped reduce suspicion and build trust and confidence in the Electoral Commission. We are confident that the various efforts employed by the Electoral Commission will result in a credible and peaceful election. In the long run, these efforts would yield great benefits for our country, helping to foster peace, stability, and development. May God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Let peace reign.
Security expert Professor Kwesi Enin joins us via Zoom. Always good to see you, Prof. Now, this is not the first time we've seen these two men sign a similar peace pact. Are we certain that the signing alone can quell any act of violence during election day?
No, I mean, the act of signing peace pacts alone are not enough to prevent violence or to enhance compliance with the terms of the peace accord. But peace accords or peace pacts are symbolic gestures of the hopes and aspirations of the signatories, and by extension, their supporters, what is inside that pact. So if I unpack the statements from the president and the former president, it's about Ghana It's about our democratic process. It's about strengthening institutions, but also the expectation of the professionalism of all those individuals who have a role to play in ensuring that there's an acceptability and credibility around the process.
And Prof, former President Mahama raised the issue of the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence. And I'm not sure whether you saw it, but if you looked at his demeanor, he wasn't entirely happy that a lot had been done in the past, but there was not a lot of commitment to ensure that, you know, violence doesn't break out again. And essentially, he was accusing the government of failing to ensure peace when they needed to do that. So what do you make of this? I mean, people say that this was a peace pact. You're supposed to commit to peace and not bring up issues of the past. What are your own thoughts on this?
I mean, first is that Ayawaso West Wuogon and the manner in which that particular incident, which was reflective of the general levels of violence in our politics, has been resolved, has become an albatross around our neck. But even more disturbingly, it's almost become like a Pandora's box, because the commission report and its recommendations were basically mostly shelved, and the white paper did not speak to the most critical aspects of it. In politics, clothings, mannerisms, body language are very key. And I think you've pitched it right in terms of the body language and the mannerisms of the former president, showing a certain unhappiness with the manner in which violence, and particularly that incident, was dealt with. And I think when he refers to the security agencies and the need for them to act professionally, I think it's sending a clear signal to not only the security institutions, but also the EC in particular, you know, that those two institutions must raise their game dramatically to ensure that there are no doubts, there are no contestations. Because whilst we've signed a peace accord, immediately there are contestations about the professionalism and the delivery of the service that we expect prior to, on, and immediately after the voting itself. Then the contents of a peace agreement do not matter. It is the supreme interest of the parties that will unfortunately, you know, take over the behavior of people. So we need to prevent any set of incidents, individually or in complex formations, that will send an unfortunate signal that institutions have not acted professionally. Professionalism, professionalism, professionalism is what must drive the performance and the delivery of the services that the citizenry expects on Monday.
And Prof, you talk about professionalism, which is very important. In fact, this morning when the IGP addressed the personnel before they were deployed to other parts of the country, he also raised the issue about professionalism. But there are those who argue that in as much as these personnel want to stay professional and exhibit professionalism, they're unable to do so because they're compromised by, they're influenced by the powers that be, so they can't do their job right.
No, I've never bought into this argument. If you are professional and you are driven by the professional ethos of your institution and your training, you will deliver in a manner that even those who seek to criticize you, whilst they don't agree with the outcomes of your performance, will realize that the actions that you've taken were primarily based on your professional assessment of a particular situation. So it should be possible, and actually we do expect, that all those who should perform must perform optimally. And I think the IGP's point this morning was very clear, that those who have sought to threaten the performance of the security agencies are just basically wasting their time. And I will support that statement and say, look, over time, we are built in this country, which, yes, we do recognize unnecessary political interference in the performance of these security actors, but there are also people in there who have decided that they will deliver as optimally as possible. So my admonition for all those who are out there on Monday performing their duty is that Ghana is the sole variable that we should work to protect. This is a Ghana enterprise. This is a Ghana for victory performance. Ghana's interest and the interest of its citizenry is what we must fight for. And therein lies the protection of the professionalism that we are looking for. And I like the president's ending of office statement, the quotation of the national anthem, and those words admonishing us to go out there and do our best for this country. Professionalism is ingrained in almost every aspect of our national ethos. There can be no excuse and there can be no acceptance of those who cannot perform as optimally as possible.
Professor Kwesi Inning, as always, it's always good to hear from you. So many thanks, so much. I'm so thankful for your time always. And I'll promise to come by and wish you Happy Christmas and Merry Christmas in person. Thank you so much again for your time. Still here on Election Brief. Now, we're confident in you to deliver. Those are the parting words of Inspector General of Police James Opon-Bueno as he deployed an unspecified number of officers until thousands to the regions ahead of Monday's elections. The team of Election Security Task Force comprises personnel from the fire, immigration, prison, police service, and are expected to support teams already on the ground at the various polling stations. Given the background of incidents in the past, which have hurt public confidence in the police, they're being urged to uphold professionalism in the discharge of their duties on Monday. Gifty Andoapia has more.
The Election Security Task Force, which is essentially made up of much more than just the police service, the immigration service, the fire service, the prison service, the Ghana police, they've all gathered here. Of course, we know that there's over 6,000 of them. I'm not quite sure if all 6,000 of them are being deployed here because these are those who are going to the regions. These are the officers who will be manning polling stations in the respective regions. They're being deployed today. So from here, they're going right into the regions where they will be stationed. What is happening right now, by the way, is an address to all of them before they go.
Wear face masks at all times and enforce the wearing of face mask. Responsible for queue management, ensure some social distance and proper mask wearing in the queue. Do not take part in the actual administration of the elections. Checking voter ID card is not what? It's not our job. It's a job for which people? EC officials. Now, nice. Be alert while on duty. Do not use your mobile phone or electronic device for social media monitoring or any other purpose. That is somebody else's duty. If I'm you on that day, until there's a need for you to use your phone for emergency calls, do not get closer to your phone. Know the contact of your immediate commander and call sign / contact numbers of patrol teams assigned to your area and alert them immediately you notice an unusual occurrence. For example, when a non-uniform person or suspicious security personnel come to the polling station with what? With a weapon. Do not leave your duty point for any reason. If you must do so to attend to nature's call, inform your supervising officer first and then the presiding officer. Be courteous but firm to turn unauthorized people away from the center. People allowed access to the center are 1. EC officials in their jackets. 2. Security personnel in uniform on duty. 3rd, candidates. Their photos must be on the ballot paper and their spouses. People are credited by the Electoral Commission. The presiding officer can confirm said people. Refuse gifts or favors. It could make you appear biased, if not laced with poison.
These are rules as they go along. So they've been told not to be engaged in any electoral administrative work because that is actually essentially none of their business. They've actually been told to not to go check in ID cards. Of course, that is not a part of their duties. Theirs is to provide security. They've been also urged to not to use their mobile phones for social media monitoring except for emergency calls.
Aho! Aho! Yes, I can see you are in high morale. That is good. Today, we are making history. And the eyes of the world and the country at large are on us. Between now, the 7th, and after the elections, we have dedicated ourselves to protect Ghanaians and residents of Ghana, and more importantly, to protect the ballot. Therefore, I urge all of you to put in your best. All of us must be professional. We must put on the prescribed uniforms only. We must wear our armbands and make sure that we report for duty at the appropriate time. For your information, our brothers and sisters in the Ghana Armed Forces and operational teams of the Ghana Police Service have already been deployed in the field, so you go and meet them. We expect an incident-free election, but when any incident arises, make sure you report it to the appropriate authority.
Let's stay on the issue of security, and security analyst is cautioning against the involvement of soldiers in the polls, warning it is gradually undermining Ghana's democracy. Colonel Festus Boahen Abuaja, retired, insists the police should be solely responsible for the exercise. He details this point in his latest book, The Ghana Voter Registration 2020, Dynamics and Risks of Political Contestation in an Emerging Democracy. The book studies the events of the 2020 voter registration exercise and how that could affect the upcoming election. Colonel Abuaja says election security is a crucial aspect of the election that stakeholders must not take for granted.
Democratic elections, there is no role for any military. We saw it during the American elections. We all saw CNN and other international media, and you didn't see any American soldiers, those deployed to Afghanistan, you didn't see them at the ballot stations. You saw federal police, you saw state police. The U.S. has different types of law enforcement agencies. Now here, we have gradually come to think that the military is part of any security architecture or security arrangement within the country, which is not the case. And there is a risk. The more we allow the military to be involved in election security, the more likely that we undermine our democratic elections. And it's something that I think we need to pay attention.
Well, Dean of the Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Dr. Vladimir Njudanso, is urging the police to be circumspect in the discharge of their duties.
Well, basically, if you look at the world today, there is hardly any democratic elections or any elections that is incident-free. All you can do is to mitigate or try to draw this kind of thing down. At the last minute like this, what we can do is to continue with the peace effort that we're talking about, continue encouraging the Electoral Commission to do what is right, and to encourage also the peace officers, especially the police, who will be billed to monitor and help bring the peace, to do their work as pertains per the Constitution. They shouldn't be part of any thing that will mar the beauty of the elections. So we'll still continue to preach and say that elections are not a do and die affair. Go vote, go back to your house. By all means, somebody would win. And the winner does not mean that Ghana is dead. So just go, sleep, listen to the results. If everything has been done perfectly well, Ghana goes on.
Let's head to the central region where the police command has picked up 2 persons at a hotel at Ejumako Esiam. Police say a search in their room revealed a checkmate pistol loaded with 7 rounds of ammunition. The pistol is said to be registered in the name of a person identified only as Dr. Kwabena Dufour. Police say intelligence they picked up indicates that the 2 persons, together with others who are on the run, were in the constituency to cause confusion during the elections. DSP Irene Opong is the Central Regional Police Public Relations Officer.
On the 3rd of December 2020, the Central Regional Police Command had an intel that there were some persons who were hiding in a hotel at Ejumako Esiam, and they have plans to cause disturbances before, during, and after the election. So police proceeded to the said hotel and were able to arrest one person, and the other was picked later. We found items like a pistol, and then we also found military camouflage. We found one jackknife and other items that we have brought to the regional CID, and investigations are ongoing. Currently, the pistol that we picked has been registered in one Dr. Kwabena Dufour's name. We are yet to establish the identity of the owner of the pistol, and then we will also invite that person to assist us with the investigation.
All right. Thank you. So what are you currently doing? Are you in further search for other suspects that are part of the syndicate?
The intel is ongoing in and around Ejumako, and we are certain that we will get other suspects to arrest. However, we want to tell the people at Ejumako that there is no cause for alarm. The police, we are alert, and anything that drops, we have the win before the crime is committed. And we are ready to protect them, for them to exercise their right on the voting day. So nobody should fear.
Richard Kojunyako joins us on the phone with more on this particular issue. Richard, so what more has the police been telling you with respect to the accoutrements that they picked up from these 2 people who have been arrested?
So, among other things, they list that they found military camouflage, 3 handcuffs, 1 jackknife, 3 bullet-proof vests, all in the room of suspect Raymond Kwashi. They are still interrogating him, and police say that they believe there are lots more of the people that are part of the syndicate, and they would want to hunt them down, and so they are still investigating this incident. You remember that the Ejumako is one of the constituencies we are keeping our eyes on because of what happened during the registration exercise. There were a whole lot of confusion there, and so this issue has really brought another attention to that particular constituency. And when I interacted with the police, they indicated that they will send more of their men, and they are assuring them that nothing untoward would happen because they've got everything covered.
All right, many thanks. Richard Kojunyako is our Central Regional Correspondent, keeping an eye on that developing situation for us. Now, Otunfo said to the second is advising the youth against risking their lives for the benefit of politicians, sharing a horrifying experience of electoral violence in Sierra Leone. The king used his experience in that country to advise the youth. He has also endorsed the Ballot Without Bullets campaign of the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission with the goal of curbing the proliferation of arms this election season. Nana Aljima has more.
The Asantehene is cautioning the youth against being used by politicians to perpetrate electoral violence. He shared his experience in Sierra Leone, where he was invited to share a peace message. When I was taken through the streets of Sierra Leone, I noticed lots of amputees, holes made by bullets in many buildings. If you compare the place to this country, then we have to protect the peace. The Asantehene is worried about the proliferation of arms in the country. A research by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center revealed over 2.3 million small arms in the system. The Asantehene cites shooting incidents at Alaba and Ayeduase as dangers associated with proliferation of arms. He wants the public to report unauthorized holders of arms to law enforcers as part of securing peace in the country. Guns are for the security personnel, but now a lot of people have guns on them. If they should bring them out, there will be war. We know elections are held every 4 years, but each time it is about to happen, people try to disturb the process. Some send guns to the police station. What's the relevance of it? The politicians who benefit from the elections do not hold guns. Meanwhile, the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission is hopeful its campaign, Ballots Not Bullets, will yield positive results in the coming elections. Jones Boateng Able is Executive Secretary of the Commission.
The approach that we are using, in addition to the normal town hall meetings and the debates that we hold, is to try and build a consensus of the elite that we will not under any circumstance resort to the use of violence or guns during these elections, because, as we all know, we have only one country to protect. And our objective for this campaign is to ensure that at the end of these elections, Ghana remains the winner. We don't want a situation where people will introduce guns into our body politic.
From Kumasi for JoyNews, Nana Aljima reporting.
This is Election Brief on your election headquarters. I am Arba Kumsi. We're taking a short break, but still ahead, the battle for the two swing regions, Central and Greater Accra, rages on. Who gets to win these two regions that have 5 million votes? A researcher thinks it tilts towards the MPP.
Greater Accra, based on the historical data, is really tight. I mean, it's almost split, right? That if we combine the safe, likely, and lean for each of the two parties, is 12-12, with about...
Welcome back to Election Brief. Time to talk about the campaign proper. And with just this weekend in between the 2020 elections, two regions have been earmarked by pundits as pivotal, with a combined voter strength of over 5 million. The Greater Accra and the Central regions will potentially decide the election as the key swing regions following the division of the Western and Bono-Ahafo regions. Dr. John Osai Kwapong is a member of IRIS Research Group, which have undertaken research into the 2020 elections. And according to him, whilst the Greater Accra region is evenly split between the NDC and MPP, the Central region tilts slightly towards the MPP.
Greater Accra, based on the historical data, is really tight. I mean, it's almost split, right? That if we combine the safe, likely, and lean for each of the two parties, is 12-12, with about it's almost split evenly with a number of toss-ups. If you look at Central, though, the picture looks slightly different based on the historical, in the sense that we see MPP with an edge in terms of how we did the classifications, but with a lot more constituencies that we were classifying as toss-ups. But I agree with Joseph that given the splits that occurred in the other regions that were part of the swing regions, which is Western and Bunoa Hafo, now the ones that are remaining truly pure and quote-unquote unadulterated is your Greater Accra and your Central. And those are going to be extremely pivotal.
But Greater Accra NDC Chairman Joseph Adekoka believes the NDC has corrected the wrongs of 2016 and will flip the Greater Accra region back to the party.
Sure, na sani ni yole. Lenje legacy premix na ahabia ne. Premix ameka have party members. Ni ameka ko fono. Ni na hole 550. Court him sure na I'm all 1,200. Black markets. And there's a problem. He knows the outboard motors are not coming. The fishing nets are not coming. Only this afternoon, my women organizers went to the Tema fishing area. Where the fishing harbor, Tema fishing harbor. And you can see what happened there. Unfortunately, I can't give you the pictures that my brother said we have been busing people. And a party in opposition struggling to get resources. Where are we going to get our resources to bus people? Well, I think, like he said, he also can tickle himself a laugh. The important thing is that the 7th December is only 4 days away. As far as Greater Accra is concerned, it's not the 8-year cycle anymore. Politics is no more 8-year cycle. Look at what happened in the United States of America.
Now, MPP chairman for the Greater Accra region, Divine Agohom, has promised that not only will his party win more seats in the region, they will also win the presidency.
Now to my senior colleague that I'm targeting a minimum of 24. He can keep his bullet to his chest. That's what we want. Let's see. We have just 4 days to 7th December. He's quite an experienced politician. He's won Greater Accra before. He's lost it. And I expect that he has experience enough to, read between the lines to see what's likely to happen. He knows it very well. As we speak now, he's talking about the situation at the coast. And I laugh. Is he trying to tell us that the situation during their time was better than what we are seeing now? I mean, were we getting the premise fuel during their time like we are getting it now? He's saying that we give the premise to MPP people. I think that the distribution structure of the premise is not premised on party lines.
Now to the Central region, which, like the Greater Accra region, votes for the winner since 1992. Secretary of the NDC in the region, Kojo Kwansa, said the NDC has done enough campaigns in the region to win it. Staying on the issue of campaigns and polls, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament has taken a swipe at the numerous polls predicting a runoff in the December 7 elections. Joseph Osei-Wusu says evidence on the ground supports a one-touch victory for President Akufo-Addo despite those predictions. He tells JoyNews that Akufo-Addo will win 53% of the votes cast in Monday's elections. Ohimin Tewia has more.
Governance Research Bureau and iPoll surveys have predicted runoff of 2020 presidential elections. It comes as another survey by Political Science Department of University of Ghana had predicted one-touch victory for President Akufo-Addo. But First Deputy Speaker of Parliament has taken a swipe at the polls, predicting a runoff. Joe Osei-Wusu, who discounted the claim of the polls, says there is enough evidence that supports a one-touch win for Akufo-Addo.
I am confident to win one touch. I have seen and read about those that give MPP between 50.2 to 52%. When it comes to polls and data, it depends on where you do it. But the evidence on the ground, I'm convinced, is that Nana Akufo-Addo will win about 53% this election.
Mr. Osei-Owusu is promising emphatic victory for the new patriotic party in the area. According to him, the party has done enough to win votes of Ghanaians.
The general project, Free SHS, affects everybody. And as I move around the constituency, the response to that program is massive. In addition to that, fiscal infrastructure projects, roads that had not seen rehabilitation, reconstruction for 70 years are now being reconstructed. Practically every nook and corner has been tarred. Some central parts are being asphalted. The Kwara Hospital has been abandoned for nearly 50 years or more. Now it has been completed. In addition to that, we have smaller communities. We have constructed many new classroom blocks and nurseries, which gives the community hope. And if you go around this, there are 6 high schools in the municipality. See the massive infrastructure development to give room for more students to enter the community schools are massive, and electricity. It's probably requires about one of the few in this region that have 100% coverage.
Now, running mate to the NDC presidential candidate, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has assured that the NDC will deal with corruption-related issues decisively if it wins the 2020 elections. Addressing a town hall meeting in Cape Coast, Professor Opoku-Agyeman argued that unlike its opponent, the governing MPP, the NDC government has shown more commitment towards fighting corruption in the past, including holding members of its own government accountable. She's thus urging party faithful to show up in their numbers on December 7 and vote for the NDC.
We intend to be more productive and less dependent. We intend to be more self-reliant than relying on others. We shall safeguard and protect our national assets and resources for the benefit of all Ghanaians and not for a few. And we will deal decisively with the issue of corruption. We are at a critical point in our country. Events we have all witnessed these last 4 years make it clear that we have an alternative, a government that has shown dedication to fighting corruption, including holding members of his own government to account. And we know that that party is the NDC. In times like today, when issues of corruption are rife, our country is sorely missing such levels of commitment, and it should concern all of us. We should all care that half of our natural resources are not given away to obscure entities shrouded in opacity. We should care also that critical assets like a national airport are not given away for a pittance. We must not arrive at a destination.
Now, it's some 3 days away from the election, and some electorates are heading to their hometowns in preparation to cast their ballot. Now, some drivers of VVIP, VIP No Plan and Tamale bus terminals tell JoyNews they would have transported lots of passengers to towns and villages outside the regional capital to go vote by now. They believe lots of those who would go vote on December 7 have either been transported by their party executives or they would come to the stations on Sunday night or early Monday dawn to travel. Hannah Odame was at the terminals for JoyNews.
We've been to the VIP station, the VVIP station, the Tamale station, and to the Neoplan station. The general observation is that vehicles are leaving to the various towns, cities, and constituencies with people who are going to vote. But some of the drivers who spoke to us said that last year or in previous years, the numbers that tricked in to go vote were more comparatively. And they think that a lot of people will rather decide to travel on Sunday evening and many more even on Monday dawn.
We have been seeing balloting, and people have traveling to vote and register and things. But this particular December 2020 election, people have not been coming. I feel it wonderful our people. Like a Friday like this, Monday is a voting day. We have been shorting cars, and then people will be very stranded and things here. But as today, people are not traveling. People are not, well, maybe the parties have, hand cars for their voters to go to their village and vote.
Michelle movement says, time now I can bear 4 days. It's a name Friday, particularly Nippon said down Kosa, but Omo Koma, but a free Chinako, Sikosiarandi, and Abahuni Padua, and Abako Tuaba.
We've been also speaking to some passengers.
About Monday, 4 years time, I never tell me what to ban. Kago Nabelodu or no plan station. Me friend Quaco. Mako Queseranajo, Madame Pameland on Makocho.
So you just heard from Bieja. She is saying that there's not much activity here because a lot of people will go and vote on Sunday evening. Also yesterday, majority of them also left this station to go and vote.
I'm going to be, if I happen to wait for tomorrow or the next day, I think it's going to be too much hard pace of time. That is why I'm leaving today.
So the countdown is on. It's just 3 days to the December polls, and some citizens have expressed optimism about the upcoming elections. According to them, their minds are made up on who to vote for and are confident that the election would be peaceful. Listen to some of them.
What I want to tell our politicians is that democracy is about choices. It's about diverse opinions. So the fact that you are in MPP and I'm in NDC, or I'm in NDC or MPP, doesn't mean we are enemies. All of us cannot think along the same line. We may have different opinions and ideas. So we should all be tolerant with each other and just go there and cast our vote on December 7th and may the best candidate win.
Well, what I'm saying is that it's like going to a football game. You either win, lose, or draw. In this case, there's no draw. So one definitely will win. And if there's a contest, we have 10 people. You all cannot be first. Even if there's a runoff, but definitely one person will win. So what I'm saying is that they should all let us have our peace.
And you heard them. It's important to maintain our peace. Elections are a contest of ideas, not a contest of might. My name is Arba Kumson. This has been Election Brief.